Welcome to our final episode in our Q&A series. In this one, we're asking, what is men's intuition and what role does it play in embodying masculinity? Tim, are you ready to go all in?
I'm ready.
So we hear a lot about women's intuition, but not so much about men's. So what do you mean when you talk about men's intuition?
Thank you for that question. I never talk about men's intuition because I don't think that's a thing. I think there is intuition, and I think there are people who are capable of tapping into their intuition. And I think culturally that has been women because they have been allowed to have a sensational experience of their own bodies and their own experience and their feelings and their emotions. I do not think that intuition is specific to a gender. And so I know that some people think about like, well, men's intuition. It's a good question, but I just don't think I don't think it exists. I think there is human intuition and humans have access to it. Maybe some have a natural aptitude. But I would even argue that I don't necessarily think that women tend to have more natural aptitude than men. I don't have any research about this, but I think intuition is available to all of us. I think it's a thing we can practice. I think that's partly why we do embodiment, because I think a lot of intuition is actually understanding our felt sense and our physical experience in a moment, like the wisdom of our heart. And there's a lot of research about heart math and what we can sense with our hearts. We have sense organs that are not just our eyes, right? Or our nose. And I think men's intuition is any man willing enough to do the work to feel into his own experience.
You spoke a little bit about embodiment, so I'm curious about what the connection is for you between embodiment and intuition.
I think when people think of intuition, they think of it like a premonition. I think they think of it like, oh, there's this invisible antenna on the top of my head, and if I'm intuitive, I will randomly get a download that like plays like a movie on the backside of my forehead, and then I have a thing. That has never been my experience of it. I think intuition is a culmination of lots of information coming together. And that's why embodiment is a big part of that, because, oh, when I feel this thing in my gut, or when I feel, and I'm just speaking from personal experience now, like sometimes I feel it in my gut, sometimes I feel it like in the midline of my chest, sometimes I feel it in my throat, but I'll get a sensation and I'll think, oh, that's usually, that's an alarm, that's a flag, something's drawing my attention. And that is informing my intuition. Is something not quite right here? Something feels not quite right in my body. So what's not quite right in my circumstance, in my environment, in my situation? I think that is a big part of intuition. Now, I suspect some people have a more head-centric intuition. I suspect I personally have a more body felt sense kind of intuition, but it's the ability to recognize those signals and then become curious about what they might mean. So again, with intuition, it isn't like you're lying to me and I know exactly what the lie is. You said this and it's not that, it's this other thing. Like, no, oftentimes it's that something doesn't feel right. Now I'm going to like take a breath and like kind of get out of the heightened emotional experience of it and then bring curiosity. Oh, what about this feels a little off? And then I think that's the process. I wish it were more like Charmed, the witches, like, oh my God, I love Charmed so much, but I wish it was more like, yeah, I just know exactly what happened. And I don't think that's how that works.
Cast the spell and reveal it all.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I heard you say was trusting gut.
Mhm.
So understanding, like, is the old adage like trust your gut, trust your instinct? Is that aligned to intuition here?
It feels like it is to me. None of this is, we don't have any research on this. My gut has been fairly accurate. And the thing about the body that I have learned is that it doesn't really lie. in the same ways that our mind can lie. So if I'm in a really heady experience, I could work myself up into this person is keeping this from me. I could create stories, and our minds are pretty good at that. But if I just think about the felt experience, oh, I have a sinking feeling in my abdomen right now. I don't know precisely what that is from, but I know that it's worth paying attention to because I know it wouldn't be there if it didn't need to be. And that is so it's welcoming yourself into a totally different kind of conversation where once I recognize that feeling, if I have the ability to recognize it, then can I bring curiosity to what's around me without jumping to a conclusion about what it has to mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Because it would be easy to say, I feel the sinking feeling, you're cheating on me. It's like, I think intuition's more like I'm having an experience. What's really happening? And you start looking for other bits of data. Awareness is one of the biggest tools that we use in embodiment. So I start placing my awareness in a conscious way. And I think that's also part of intuition.
So might somebody struggle to trust their intuition or these bodily pings that they're getting?
Well, they might not recognize them or have been practiced in feeling them. They might also have been gaslit. When I was young, getting the sensation and having someone like not like having caregivers or protectors or whatever kind of lie to you. Um, I'm not going to go into all the reasons why that might be true, but you might have been taught to not trust because that person that you needed to trust or that you were reliant upon they were telling you that what you were feeling wasn't real. I mean, I remember one time, I think I've told this on this podcast already, but I one time where something happened and I got hurt. And I remember my grandfather saying, that doesn't hurt. And it's a very weird experience to be like, well, it feels like it does. Like, I feel like I'm experiencing pain. And now you're telling me that I'm not or I shouldn't be. And so I think, and then also not being encouraged to be open about your experience. So the culturalization of men right now is that we're supposed to be really strong. Pain is a weakness, right? And there's only like a few times when it's kind of allowed. So we also entered into this idea of I'm going to suppress it because it feels more acceptable. You can't make me cry. You can't upset me unless it's in an anger way. You're like, I'm not vulnerable, like all that sort of stuff. And I think that lends us to I'm going to shut myself off from the sources of wisdom that might actually be tuning me into what's happening. What's interesting is when people do that, they shut themselves off from when they cut parts of themselves off and don't make them available to themselves or to others, they are cutting themselves off from others too.
Mm.
So, how deeply can you connect with your partner, with your children, when you are denying aspects of yourself, even to yourself? And so that's one of the things why men's work is so important. Uh, get in touch with your whole self so you can offer your whole self with enough practice, offer it skillfully so that you can have deep, meaningful connections that matter way more than most other things. Way more. They matter more than your income.
Mm. Thank you. And so if somebody is wanting to go down that path to strengthen their intuition and strengthen their felt sense of what their body is trying to tell them, they start.
Do embodiment practice. Uh, just asking yourself, what am I feeling? Because, it's interesting if you ask people what they're feeling, you get these answers like, good, fine, I'm in pain, whatever the thing is. And the truth is, if you really look at what you're feeling, you're probably feeling many things simultaneously. Right now, my face feels a little hot because of the lights and whatever. But my calf feels very relaxed, as an example. Uh, and if I went through it, did more, I'm like, I'm probably feeling 8, 10, 12 different things. It doesn't have to just be one. And, they talk about this with chronic pain, where sometimes one of the ways to approach chronic pain isn't to pretend like the pain isn't there, but it's to recognize that the pain isn't the only thing there. Be like, oh, that part of you might be in chronic pain, but this other part of you actually feels okay. And just that awareness can start to shift. Chronic pain is tricky and, but the awareness that there's more than one thing present at one time is really powerful.
The mind isn't the only thing that's really smart.
For sure. Absolutely. The Heart Math Institute, they talk about this sort of understanding, this awareness and sensing that we have. When we think about auras and energetic fields and all that, it can feel so in the clouds. But we are electricity, we are hormones, we are magnetic, we are so many things. And embodiment is really tapping into, what can I sense with my heart? What can I sense with my gut? What can I sense with my primal? And what can I sense with my head, my thoughts, my rationality? It isn't like we don't want that. It's just that that's the thing we have been doing. I keep using like the Planeteers as the example, but like, if you want Captain Planet, you need all 5 Planeteers. So bring it all online. Why not?
Right. Love it. Thank you so much. Is there anything else on the topic of intuition and how it helps us to embody our fullness that you'd like to mention?
I just think people need to be willing to be in a practice with their own intuition, because I've never experienced it as infallible. So you might misfire and you have to let that be part of it. Like, I really thought this was happening and you might be wrong. And like, okay, that doesn't mean that intuition doesn't work. It just means that it's a honing of not just a recognition of whatever you're feeling that's alerted you to it, but then the curiosity around the situation once you've been alerted to it. It is a non-exact science.
Well, thank you all for joining us for our 3-part Q&A series. If you have more questions, please send them to us. We would love to hear from you. And besides that, if you are on this journey, or if you're new to it, if you're just beginning to be in your embodied experience, if you're curious about men's work or any of the things that we talk about on this podcast, head on over to myembodiment.com, where you can join us in conversations and live practices and a wealth of information. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.